See if your order goes
Ready? We got about 30 more seconds. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the JCSD 1 Board of Trustees, we'd like to welcome everyone to the October 9th regular monthly board meeting. The board thanks everyone for taking time out of their busy schedules, and this was a busy month for attending this meeting either in person or via streaming or listening on 307 Net. At this time, would you all please stand with me and sing the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Kristen Ledoux is not under the weather, but she's had surgery, so she will be out this month. Cell phones, you all know the drill. We appreciate if you take any cell phone call outside, and if you need to have a conversation, we also ask you to step outside. At this time, public comment. Do we have any public comment, Heidi? No? Okay. Do we have any additions to our agenda? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's on there as D, right?
It's under D. And it's on the other one. I apologize. I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. Parent liaison, would you come on up and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Should I just take
You
a
bet.
seat?
Yes.
Is that great?
By the way, before she starts, wonderful job at accreditation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Dimitra Dugal, and I'm the Parent Liaison Program Manager for Compass Center for Families. I am extremely passionate about this program as I was a parent liaison myself at Sheridan Junior High School for 3 years before transitioning to managing the program last year, and now I'm here in Johnson County. Compass is in its 9th year as the lead agency for the program in Sheridan County, and we're in our 2nd year in Johnson County. This program was developed in Bozeman, Montana nearly 30 years ago by a nonprofit named Thrive, and it is informed by years of research that shows us when parents are engaged in their children's education, those students are successful. This evidence-based program is also embedded in Livingston, Montana, Mineral County, Montana, and Belgrade, Montana. Now, Thrive as an organization provides us with a detailed implementation guide and timeline, and we follow this program to fidelity. They provide us with extensive training annually and on an ongoing basis, and some supervision. I supervise with Steve Wellington in Bozeman on a weekly basis. I meet with other program managers bi-weekly, and myself and Steve and Charles Oski and my executive director at Compass, Tiffany Reeser, all meet monthly. And your liaison, Kristen Alger, receives weekly supervision from myself and from her peers in Sheridan County. She has shadowed other liaisons and will continue to do so this year as part of her ongoing training. And this year, we are creating a group for liaisons from smaller schools in Mineral County and Story, Wyoming, for her to learn from, because KC is a very small school, and that might pose different challenges for a liaison that even I may have not, been aware of. So if we can just switch slides, please. Our mission is to create strong partnerships between schools and parents to ensure the success of all children. Parent liaisons are neutral facilitators between home and school. And our program is preventative and proactive, and we focus on the strengths of both families and schools. Liaisons provide support to schools, support to families, because all families need support at some time. Parenting is hard, And children are part of a family system. And so if parents are struggling, then it's likely that kids are struggling to learn in schools. They also connect parents to resources both within their schools and community and provide parent education opportunities. Last year, free Love and Logic classes were held in Buffalo, and this year, free Love and Logic classes for all families are being held in KC in November, and then again in Buffalo this spring. She also facilitates kindergarten and third grade readiness presentations with her school teams. And these presentations include information on child development, parenting tips, how to be engaged with your child's school, and they also stress the importance of attendance because we know that really attendance supports student success short-term, long-term, and over the course of their lives, really. Now, this next slide, please, is what I'm really excited about, is to show you the impact Kristen had last year in both towns in Johnson County. Overall, she had contact with 117 families, and she worked with 25 families on an ongoing basis, which means she had contact with them 3 or more times, because some parents need support just once, and some can need some ongoing support, so she provided that. And next slide, please. Each year, our program surveys all staff. And the staff survey was sent to all K through 5 staff, and 96% of respondents said that they're satisfied with the program and would recommend it. And I just wanted to share a couple of quotes with all of you from those surveys. Kristen's connection with parents was invaluable. She established relationships that in the past have been hard for us to do. Another quote was, thanks to our parent liaison, a few of my students were given resources and opportunities I could not provide as a classroom teacher. This addition to our school is bridging a gap for parents who need more support, guidance, and resources to help their students be more successful in and out of school. And that's really our program in a nutshell. And next slide, please. We also surveyed families who worked with Kristen on an ongoing basis. And 100% of those parents are satisfied with the program and would recommend it. And 78% reported support from their liaison increased their involvement with the school. That's our mission. It's working. It's happening in year 1. And it's only going to grow from here. I've seen it in Sheridan County. I'm confident we'll see that same growth in Johnson County. A couple of quotes. My child now loves school, is more outgoing and social. She helped in so many ways to make it easy for my kids in school. And finally, I would like to see, and I think you all would like to see this program continue beyond this year. We are working hard to secure key community stakeholders to develop a truly public-private partnership like the one in Sheridan County. We'd like to partner with the school district, Compass Center for Families, and Thrive. Our Compass Executive Director, Tiffany Reister, has submitted 3 grant applications. One to the Homer A. and Mildred S. Scott Foundation, one to the John P. L. Bogan Foundation, and one to the Wolf Foundation. We're looking at funding, partial funding for the next 3 years. I can go into more specifics if anyone is interested, but I will keep you posted on our future success. Lastly, on behalf of myself and Kristen Alger and Compass Center for Families, I want to thank you for inviting us into your schools and into your communities and partnering with us to really support families and children on this journey that ultimately benefits our students and our community overall. So thank you so much, and I invite any comments or questions from anyone.
Who usually refers? Do you get referrals? How's that all come about?
Well, there are a couple different ways that a parent can start working with their TA. First of all, in our preventative side, Kristen makes welcome calls to any family that's new to the district or new to the school. So we have that positive first contact. But she also meets with school teams on a weekly basis. She meets with principals and counselors with a weekly meeting, and referrals can come that way. Hey, we've heard a parent say this. They're struggling with this. Having trouble making rent, whatever that could be. And also she gets referrals from individual teachers because she's trying to develop relationships with both staff and families to support the whole system. Does that make sense?
Other questions?
I'm just going to do a celebration. That's 1 year up there. So to have the type of information that you see in there, the number of contacts in year one, is really exciting for me as a superintendent. Usually we talked about with Steve, this is a 3-year process, so those are pretty remarkable numbers. And Shane Vader with Sheridan 2 is here, but that's just a coincidence. But that was it is an off branch. Knowing that Sheridan 2 has been very successful, 30 years of experience. It isn't just a new program. It's evidence driven. So thank you for your guys' efforts. And I'm excited to see where this will be in the next couple of years. And more importantly, they're doing the work to also help seek that funding so it's financially supported through the community and not just a cost to the district. So I think it is truly a collaborative piece between the communities and the school districts to catch the parents and the young kids at an early age to make sure they're connected with schools.
I will say when we had dinner with Sheridan 2, they just couldn't say enough about parent liaison. And that came from the school. So you should give it a thought.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Any other?
Happy New Year.
Thank you so much for coming. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
kudos to your presentation. So.
This time I'd also like to introduce Shane Rader. He is our district rep. Am I right in saying, is that what I want? What district are we again, number?
Area 7.
Area 7. He hosts barbecues, he sends emails regularly, he tries to keep us informed of what is going on, how can he help us. So Shane, I appreciate all your efforts. I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Shane?
He's a good guy. How long have you been on the board? How long have you been on this?
Been on my local board for 7 years and at the WSDA board for 3 years.
Are you board chair this time, or?
Yeah, I'm board chair at Sheridan 2, and then served as your area director, and then currently the vice president for WSDA.
Busy guy. So thank you again, Shane, for being here tonight. Anything else before we go on? So at this time, may I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda has been accepted. General reports. Mr. Roski? Oh,
We're going to do our student video?
That's what I've got general reports, and I was going to say student
No,
video.
my bad.
Right there.
So we're going to turn it over. We're going to do the student video, and then we will get started on the principal reports.
Thank you. That was really well done. Thank you.
So Jen, I just want to compliment on that. That is students. I mean, this thing has grown since we started this position. It's been student developed, and I think what a great way to start the board meeting. So kudos to those students.
Appreciate it. We don't like this time too. We'd like to thank Mr. O for the t-shirts. Thank you so much. Are these made by the students?
So most years they have been done by Borgelli, and the operation upstairs is annexed. This year, with just accreditation and so much going on in the beginning of the year, I didn't ask boards to do them, and so we ordered this.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Madam Chair, we do have principal reports. Buffalo High School is a spotlight. Gibb was just informed that prior to this, but he is well prepared. So anyway, Gibb, just what we talked about, busy week.
Yeah, so it has been busy. As you probably know, there's a few milestones in the course of a high school year. Homecoming is one of those things. So we finished homecoming week this week. It's busy. Starts with color run. We have the parade and barbecue. We have cross country was out of town. Swimming was home. The kids at school, I attached flyers for a lot of the activities, but dodgeball one night and volleyball one night, and then football and a dance. And it gets interesting. The dance, typically we have the doors locked at 9 p.m. for a dance. Everybody's in at that point. If you leave after 9, you cannot come back. So this time, because the game ran late, we backed that up till 10 o'clock. That still wasn't late enough because if we didn't, I think the game didn't finish till 9:40, and those players have to go get showered, they have to change, they want to look good, they don't want to smell, and they want to get back. So it was an interesting evening. I think it was probably 10:30, 10:40 before we felt like we had the kids in and parents who were taking pictures right in the entryway there, parents out, and sort of things got started. But all worked out. All worked out okay. So it's busy.
Questions for you?
When do you have your parent-teacher conferences?
So
you do it differently, don't you?
We do, yes, typically. So ours are coming up on the 24th and 25th, I believe those evenings are. We've talked about this a little bit. We will do them differently this year. So we are going to have our staff that's upstairs all come down. We'll put them in the auxiliary gym and in the halls and even the auditorium. We will keep our downstairs main level folks on the main level. Our PE guys have always come up to the commons to do theirs, well, since I've been. So everything will be on the main level
4 parent-teacher conferences this year.
So give, if I can, I
Yeah.
know it's a question that should be on everybody's mind, but how's the elevator coming? I see John's not here. In his report, it said they're starting construction on a room.
They are.
So progressing okay?
Yeah. Today was a great day, actually. I think there were 5 different contractors at Buffalo High School. 2 of them working on the elevator, power, water, all of those things. So we have the room that's been framed in. It's sheetrocked inside and outside, and the taping just about done. So they have a sprinkler to put in, and they have a ton of stuff to do, I'm sure. But it is coming along, and we had a ton of people in there today working on stuff, which is a great day to do it without students there.
So I see we had an issue with the boiler there, which I didn't know about. Do you, like say there again, because John doesn't know, do you know, Charles, what's going on?
They got it fixed, or they got the parts coming in, so yeah, it's just a typical building issue with the boiler system. So.
Of course.
Anything else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
And at this time, do we have any questions for any of the other principals? Any of the principals have anything to highlight? Go ahead.
Question so much, but kudos. The peer review thing went amazing. You guys every building showed up and just flew the flag proud. It was really out of the park. So well done. Pass to the troops in the buildings. Great show.
I'd agree. Kudos to the team. 30 plus presenters, 50 plus videos, 140 pages worth of documents, all that stuff that the team showed up and did their presentations was extraordinary. But what they did when they were in the buildings the next day was even more extraordinary. So it kicked off the day before with KC. So Jake's team did a great job of kicking that off in that 2-hour piece. So kudos to everybody.
Congratulations on your new leadoff batter. Enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
I have one for Mr. Anderson. For the new board members of well, they're not really new anymore. By the way, and I love that you have your school improvement plan, the draft on there. It's very detailed. Well done on that. It has a lot of information. I have to go through it again because there's so much information on that. And that's just your draft.
It's right now. It's out to parents and out to staff.
Okay.
Yeah, just for review.
So, can you tell us how you developed your mission and vision goals? Are these new? Are they all just for our members that have only been on?
Yeah, it was a year-long process. So last year we applied, actually the spring of 22, we applied to be a part of the cohort with the Department of Ed and Solution Tree. And so we spent 6 days with the Solution Tree rep last year, 2 times in October, 2 in January, 2 in April. And it was just that whole process or journey, so to speak. And we had a mission and vision and values and goals, but we hadn't addressed them for several years. And so it was time. We'd had pretty significant turnover in staff. And so we needed to really take a look at all of that. So, yeah, it was a long process.
It was a year-long process.
Well, we started in September or October, and we throughout the year, the first thing we came to was the mission, and that's challenge and prepare every student. And then we came up with our vision, which I cannot tell you verbatim what it is. But it was just kind of in steps. We did it piece by piece. We also tagged on to the district, also jumped in on the PLCs last year and brought in Annie Griffin, who's a superintendent in 10 Sleep and also a Solution Tree associate. She came over and we got her by accident. The person we were supposed to start the year with couldn't make it or something. And so she jumped in and became our coach. And so literally email away when we have questions. Yeah, year-long journey, still going. We have some additional trainings we'll do this year. One of the first things I did is created what's called a guiding coalition. So it's a teacher leader group, and they kind of are the carriers of the torch. And so. Yeah.
And they're just not fancy words, but I like these are words that you're going to live by when it comes to your curriculum, when it comes to your budget, everything.
If you
Those
look,
will be
yeah,
forefront.
if you look at the goals in our school improvement plan, if you look at the goals that are on the on our mission, vision, values, and goals, they all align. So we're not doing a bunch of this. You know, we're trying to keep the boat going in the right direction. So.
And that's something I think we want to develop as our strategic plan, is something that we live by. Everything we do will be to our strategic plan. And that was one thing our peer review kept hammering to us that we need to do. So thank you.
Our big rock for this year is just that continuing to create those common formative assessments. That's question 2 of a PLC, and then taking that data and acting on it. Intervene for kids that aren't quite there, and then extend on kids that are already there. And that's where we've really struggled. Is not that we haven't struggled in other areas, but the challenge is to meaningfully extend learning opportunities, not just give busy work. So that's our challenge.
Thank you. And I'd like to remind the board that just because they call it school improvement, they are not on a school improvement. That was one of the goals of Mr. Oskey, that every school will have a school improvement plan. Is it every year, Mr. Oskey, or how?
So we, good practice is we're going to keep our school improvement plans updated. So by state requirements, if you're not meeting expectations, you have to submit them to the state. But we're going to do it. Okay.
Dr. Ferris, just one kudos for you. I thought Mr. Scarlett did a wonderful, and Mr. Glassick did a great job with the middle school cross-country meet. It's like herding kittens when you have about 300 kids there and trying to get around almost a 2-mile course.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. They do. It's a ton of backward for us, but then I think I got a call from Ron at probably 11 and said, "We're done. This is it." It's like, man, they ran really quick. That was the other direction for soccer, but they were, that was great. I will pass that along. Thank you. They do have that down. It's never easy hosting a big culminating event like a district conference meeting.
We even had
a
7th grade girl win the conference. That's really great. Little Townsend girl.
Yes.
And not only that, it was a great time. And the reason we got done by 11, you had some fast kids.
We just took care of business.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for any of the admin team? Admin team, do you want to add anything? Mr. Oskey.
All right, director's reports. So Christy's out sick, Ricky's not here, John had a family issue, so those 3 reports, and we do have transportation here. So I will try to answer for the other 3s if I can, and that Bill is here to answer any questions you might have. So any general questions for director's reports?
No, I just said spotlight. You have to be the spotlight.
Yeah. I have one for the tech, and Mr. Oskey, I know you can answer it. What's new line displays? What's that?
Well, the gentleman is here to do that, but I'm assuming you're talking about the trip to Cody.
No, this was under Christie's.
Yeah, the new lines are
one room to show everybody how to bid it.
So new line displays are for classrooms that are going to be in Craig's building.
Right.
So Craig, I mean, if I misspeak, or we'll let Craig speak with it. That is those TVs we talked about that we purchased that are those displays that will be put up. So I think it was Craig, John, and Christy all went over to Cody because they had those set up, so they looked at how those setups were actually installed and kind of some of the obstacles that they went through with that installation. So I'll let Craig speak to that.
Yeah, just to see how everything goes, and we found a lot of things that we didn't like about how they put them in, like cords all over the place. Didn't look good at all. Didn't look real safe. But yeah, just structurally, how would they go in? Because my understanding is we're going to mock one up, get one put in, and then from that create the specs or whatever for putting it out for bid.
So is this a touch?
Yeah,
TV,
touch screen TV, replacing our smart boards that are Oh, well, we've been in there 13 years. This is our 13th year. So they sat in our house for a couple years before they put them in the building. So we're looking they're due.
Do I have any other questions?
Yeah, Charles, so John puts in there that, or maybe Christie, okay, Christie puts in there that they're updating the computers for the VHS staff. What do we do with the old computers? And I don't know, do computers wear out?
But they go on a rotation, so
Because
of new technology.
So,
Go ahead.
So Dave and the board of trustees, so this is a rotation because there'll be a point in time where computers can't be updated or they can't keep up with the software. So as you kind of budget and you plan for annual deals with that rotation of staff computers based on what their needs are, again, going to having that discussion, are we going to do desktops and a Chromebook so it's more financially stable down the road? That's kind of where we're at right now. But when we talk about updating, our teachers have to have the ability to teach with the technology that kids are using. So we got to keep them updated through that process too. So when we talk about that update, yeah, computers do get to the point where we can't upgrade them or maintain them. So they're kind of part of a rotation, like a uniform rotation as we go through that, what that looks like. However, there's going to be some consistency. So every building's been a little different over the last 6 to 8 years, and being just setting a point of a desktop and affordability, a Chromebook in every building. I know there's some discussion, well, this building gets this building's got that. We need to be more consistent across the district, but that's part of where this process is. So yes, absolutely. If our teachers are going to be expected to teach with the technology that the kids are on, we've got to have them on a rotation.
so where do the old ones go?
That'd be a great question for Christy, but if it's something we trade in or we sell through that process, but we can ask Christy and Michelle to bring into that. Connie, can you speak to that?
I think that they use it to repair other laptops. So if they need parts, they use it for parts as well on the laptops.
But there's companies that buy them. So I'm not going to speak to how Johnson County's always done it, but you can trade your technology in. They'll come and do that piece. So there's all those components. But again, that's a great question.
They always tell you not to throw them in.
Right, and we don't. I know that's
not because of the battery stuff, so that's why.
So I can guarantee you we're not throwing them in the landfill. We're trying to either get our money or we're trading them into something.
No, that's what BOSI does. If there's a company that they contracted with, this company will actually come and get these computers from them. And they resell them, and they also give the money to BOSI. So it's a whole big business out there.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
On the facilities report, sounds like Apex is scheduled on October 9th to drain the heating system and make the repairs. Do we know, did that happen? Was that a successful?
Is that a KC thing?
VHS is the first one, but KC said they've got two needing it and be scheduled for as soon as possible. So that was my next question. How are we progressing?
I think, and I could be misspeaking here, but I think Buffalo High School is done.
I think it is.
I think it was completed today.
It's October starting to be.
Yeah.
So the answer to that question is, if you don't hear anything, everything went smoothly in that process, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie to you, last week was all peer review. And didn't get a lot of one-on-one time with John, but John usually does a pretty good job if it's an emergency and to be aware of it. I'm assuming it all went well. I know there were people in KC, I know there were people at Buffalo High School, so to answer that question, Travis, I'm assuming because I did get pulled to the side that we're in that process. So.
Okay. As October and November close in,
absolutely.
Trying to make sure we've got some heat. I know Casey struggled with this.
Look at the weather reports next Thursday.
Yay.
Madam Chair, Charles, are we getting rid of the pods that were going to these carts?
So we need to do some type of staff ID card. So where our transition tests, so there's still going to be FOBs. So as we transition to one platform across the district with how we get in and out of our buildings, these are things we're starting to test as we go through. So I'm not going to say we're going to go away from FOBs. We're just going to go away from different avenues. So we're still going to have FOBs that we'll have to get in and out of buildings, but it's going to be kind of a combination
Because I thought the fob when we brought those in were really nice because they told you what time somebody unlocked the door,
It'll do the
who
same
it was,
thing.
it did all that. So you get this alpha card, if you will, is what.
So
all the
it's
things.
more like a one card, one stop, one shop. It's your student ID. We're trying to combine that with the guest network and do some things that it provides more than just getting in. It's still going to track you. But our concern right now is we have multiple platforms. So going to one platform with Mercata, which actually even ties to the camera system when they enter the building. So getting to that point over the next couple of years will be part of that transition. But the card will serve the same purpose as the fob. So when you enter a building, it's tied to you, so you know when you enter the building, so you can track those. It's just a different form. I mean, short of retina displays at each door, it's just a different type of technology.
Did they have that?
Not yet. They have it at the BLM. My husband has to use card yet.
Really?
It's for everything. If they don't have their card with them in the building, they can't get into certain doors. They can't access the computers. That's like their Wi-Fi.
But looking at how we print those cards, where do we send them out? Do we buy a printer to print these cards? That's just we're in the beginning phases of what that looks like. But we're not going to transfer just overnight. It's going to be even having the conversation. Do you have what color lanyard, or how do you give them? Because apparently we want school colors to be appropriate. So we've heard that conversation. So it is a journey.
Any other questions? Mr. Oski, I think we're to your spotlight. Superintendent report.
All right, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to go back to that peer review. You look at, again, 50 some videos, 32 plus presenters, 140 pages worth of documentation, 2.5 days of intense presentation, probably close to 200 to 300 hours of work put in. Kudos to Steve for putting that all together. My celebration is just the gratitude that we had an amazing team put on an amazing presentation, and there needs to be a lot of celebration with that. The journey has only begun. The journey's not over. Jan, as you stated, you know what we heard, our next journey to start talking about a board is revisiting our strategic plan, what that looks like, and tying all the great things that we are doing together. Hopefully, you and Lynette and Travis can speak a little bit to that in the board today, but that was a pretty phenomenal process as far as my point of view. So I want to leave it to that and answer any questions from you as a board of trustees. But kudos. Just being on this side, what you've seen on Tuesday with presentations was pretty extraordinary. And that we set the bar pretty high for Johnson County, the Johnson County School District. Mr. Oski is working really hard on changing transparency to something else, but it's all good. Inside joke.
And nobody yelled either. So.
Any questions from you as a board?
Well, Travis, Lynette, do you want to say anything?
Oh, I thought it was really interesting to talk to all the people on the review team. There were some real experts on the panel that had been doing this for a while. There's some newbies too, but mostly these were experienced people from the state that do it all the time, experienced principals and supers that knew what to look for and to see how the culture was. And the presentation was great. They all thought that was fairly impressive, but they went out into the buildings to inspect and see, okay, you told us what you think you're doing. Now I'm going to go talk to the teachers and the kids and see, are you really doing what you said? And our teachers and kids knocked it out of the park. They all came back in going, oh, you guys are literally as good as you would be. So that was kind of awesome to see those skilled people that impressed from my perspective.
Having been my first time ever gone through peer review, it's pretty exciting. It was most impressive to me, the 30 presenters from across the district. I don't know exactly how the teams were chosen and how you picked them to present the 14 platforms that we did. But I can tell you that each person that came in with their their best. They had a great story to tell. They spoke about all of the things that are happening in their world, whatever platform they presented on. It was very impressive. It was very impressive to hear people throughout the whole district between Buffalo and KC speak about all the great things going on in Johnson County. The peer review team, they were all very interesting. I did get a chance to talk to a few of them, and as Travis stated, they're all at their best, and they were very impressed. And I like the fact that they recognized that we are a work in progress, and we know that we're a work in progress. And they did recognize that. I think that through the grading scale that they gave us, it showed us that, you know, we're growing and we'll continue to grow. And they said that it's every 5 years, but they would like to come back in 2 years because they saw so many great things happening, and they would like to see again in 2 years where we're moving. And so to me, that was really exciting, and I was really grateful to be a part of the day and that I was able to take time out of my schedule and be here all day. It was an exhausting day, but I had all the feels. I had, it was a proud mom moment for me. So.
When I first saw them, we were going to have 14 presentations. I thought, oh my gosh, we're overwhelmed. Well, but the way they did it, it wasn't overwhelming. And I told most of them later on that I want them to come give their presentations to the board, because I spent a lot of time going, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I learned something new almost every presentation. And then the thing, of course, being proud, how many were former Buffalo High School teachers, or former Buffalo High School students who were doing the presenting. That should all make you feel really good. Mr. Oster.
Yeah, entertain any questions from you as a board of trustees. All right, we are up to curriculum. Kudos to that gentleman that's about ready to present for
Get new data, looks like.
Yeah.
We did.
Always new data. In fact, today at the high school, we looked at some school accountability. It was a great process of just letting our teachers look at the data and come up with celebrations as well as areas of focus. And so just a real rich, I hope it was a rich time where we were able to just look at the data, just to look at ways to enhance our student learning.
Can you give us an example? I mean, we can hear what kind of student data did you look at?
We looked 30,000 foot view all the way down to individual student data.
Okay.
Where we looked at, growth and equity are areas that we might be focusing on at the high school. So we have celebrations with extended graduation. So we looked at that. We looked at where we're right on the cusp of meeting expectations, but also we're just a little bit away from partially. So we have to be on our guard or keep moving that needle forward. We looked at curricular blueprints, where's our curriculum areas compared to the blueprints that are strong in areas that we might need to take a look at. Maybe we're teaching that after the test is already given. Also, there's some areas in math where it's 2 years now that they're not performing as well, and we did get new curriculum resources 2 years ago. So maybe we need some supplementary resources to help beef up that. So it's those little areas there. But then we also looked at the individual student growth percentiles, and where some, like for example, we have some students that are below basic still, and no offense, in the newspaper it's reported, oh, they're below basic, oh, what are they doing? But their student growth percentiles are high growth, they're in the 60s and 70s. Those are celebrations. Conversely, we have students that are advanced, and oh yeah, they're advanced, and they get reported in the newspaper as being successful, but their student growth percentile was 1 or 3rd percentile, very low. So what are we doing to help them? Are they coasting? Do they need a challenge? What do we need to do to help them grow? So there's that big view that we can look over at the school. Then also it's all about personalized learning and how can we help each student grow. And I hope that was the message that was portrayed at the high school.
So when you meet and you met with Give, is that correct? Do your teachers get involved in these? Like, how do you guys put this puzzle together? Because if you're looking at this big view, see this growth, which is awesome. I mean, how do you get that to the kids?
Well, we met a couple days ago and give what do you want. It's quite honestly what kind of data you want, what do you envision.
Very
So
much
school leadership that takes care of that. I'm just the little, I called it the down your grunt worker, whatever resources you need, and it's not me telling them this is your issue or this is a celebratory area. I want them to own the data in the school. And so that was it. I mean, all the teachers were there looking at every single piece of the data. Plus, we have our student data achievement website. Each school has that, so they have access to it with FERPA, of course, with making sure that only the correct eyes to see it. But it's up to them how they want to own that, and the high school doing it, and the other schools are too. I know all the schools are doing a great job looking at the data. But today was just happened to be a high school, and they own the data. They want to grow their students, which is good. But it's really it's leadership driven by the school.
And it very much is our whole staff. Like today, identifying areas where we need to put some attention to. That was the easy part. What action steps you're going to take in a building to move the needle in those areas. That's where the conversation and discussion happens. So it's a great process. We've done it now the last couple of years, and it's been really good for our staff.
So Dr. Miller, as we measure growth, in a nutshell, could I say that the kids are tested, say in math, they're tested early on in the year, and then they're tested later in the year. And is that how you measure growth?
No, it's from summative to summative.
What is that?
So basically, the spring test, the big test that we focus on, these interims that they've just taken, those are more or less pre-tests.
So you took that March or April?
Right. And so that's
past year.
And then they compare it to the previous March or April, the same summative this previous year. And what they do to get that growth percentile, all the students are lumped in different buckets throughout the state. So if you have a median performing student, right here, there's that bucket, and you just bounce them in all across the state. They're all similar, I guess you call them the cohort. So then you measure their achievement that next year, and that's where you get your student growth percentile based on all those similar students.
And is that a county-wide
or statewide? Statewide. So that, and again, even with the sizes that we are at, is that a big enough number? And they've always wrestled with that to make sure our cohort or that bucket size is that an accurate percentile, student growth percentile.
Because you'll sometimes see our numbers drop 2 or 3, and depending on the size of it, to drop a couple numbers can be huge or it could be small, depending on the number of students in that is your calling bucket.
Exactly, and even like with Cloud Peak last year, they were probably one student away from going from partially to meeting. And it's excruciating, and it's the game that's played. It is what it is, but it is 1 or 2 students sometimes that makes the difference. And probably 1 or 2 students that allowed the high school to be meeting expectations this year. It's just part of the way the cycle works. You're absolutely right.
Thanks for
answering.
But I want to. That's not the only data picture that we look at in each one of these. You have fast bridges. You have individual student assessments. There's a triangulation of data that they look at how they grow. So we also need to remember we're not just doing it on a one annual assessment. And what they're doing in K-1-2 and their weekly meetings and PLCs, they're always looking at that data piece. So there's a lot of data that's in conjunction with what the state's reporting on the report card. So it's just not one source of data. I sometimes think we always just think it's one source of data. And it's
That's just what's reported on.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Ms. Drosky?
All right. Val, you are up.
Val, you always have words of wisdom for us.
A great deal of professional development when getting members of my team with their team to present, and so I'm super proud of them. We've been asked about additional programs that we saw in the building, and so we were all very excited to see that some of our programs are outside of the box a little bit, and they want to know more, and they want to know how we got to where we're at and what we're doing for those students. And so that's a huge compliment to us. I want to invite all of you to LRP, so that time of the year where we get everything organized and start planning up for that conference. And so please let me know soon if you are interested in attending. It's a huge opportunity for information. And so I encourage you to go again, or if you've never been, to come. It's the best way to kind of describe when and how we do things and why we do some of the things that we do.
And if you're not sure exactly what it is, probably just give us a little what you learned from going.
Yeah, it was because I knew absolutely nothing about special ed. They had to explain to me the whole trip down. What is this abbreviation? What in the heck is an LRP? What's it? All the different acronyms they're using were new to me. So we had to really start at, okay, here's a kindergarten 101, Trav. This is what we're talking about. And then from there, we got into the classes and started doing some fantastic lectures and some really gifted that were explaining, if your district isn't doing this, you had better be, because if you can't document why you're doing such and such a thing, you're going to get smacked around. So there was tons of information, a lot of drinking from the fire hose. Some of the presentations I got in and really followed and understood, and the very next one I come out of there going, Val, come back here and tell me what this man just told me. So she had to really babysit a lot, but it was a really comprehensive, totally from funding to best practices, all about special education. I don't know that anything wasn't covered. I couldn't take every class, obviously, but it was impressive. I learned more than I would have dreamed possible in that short time. So, yeah, really a trip that you haven't taken is worth it.
There's a lot of drinking from the fire hose. I heard some chuckling out there. Let's back down, everyone. Lynette?
Yeah, it was a great experience. I too have a lot of knowledge in what special education involved. And the exciting thing to me was, as Travis stated, there was so many classes. I mean, you could have really taken everything. But it was kind of fun to see what's going on in other states. And the really exciting thing is that Wyoming is reimbursed. Not all states are reimbursed. And so that was really interesting. And so I think sometimes when we talk about, financial things, it can be really expensive. And so if these districts aren't getting reimbursed, a lot of times there's not funding for those kids. And so while it was exciting to see what was happening, it also made me kind of sad that it was, that Wyoming isn't a great place. And one thing that I really liked is Val told us about her best practice book. And she started her best practice book before you started in special education. And she said it's just massive. And it's used, and they use it often, and they refer to it all the time. And I think that that's important, that, a best practice for everything, so that we know that we're doing things right. I was super, super grateful to be a part of the process and be able to take that trip. It was exhausting. Every day we left, and we were absolutely exhausted. It was a lot of law talk, a lot of things that we just didn't quite understand until later. And so I would encourage any of you guys, if you can make it work in your schedule. I feel like it's May 5th through 8th, so we've got plenty of time in advance. If you can make it work in your schedule, I highly recommend it. It was something that I was super grateful I could do.
Well, Lynette, if I can ask you, since you went, it's federal funding. Why would some states not be doing it? I didn't hear you.
They don't have the state funding, so the state of Wyoming supplements a lot of that special education funds. And so I think the biggest impact I've seen in my career are those out-of-date district placements and some of those the specialty programs that we're able to offer our students. I had a conversation with another state, and she said, I would love to send my students to that program and do great things, but that's the budget that I would use to fund an entire school. And so they have to make some of those funding choices, where we're lucky enough that our state
But the choices that some of those districts make with their fund, or some of the states make, sorry, with their funding. And I can't remember, I talked to a gal, and I'm sorry, I don't remember where she was from, but they send a lot of their kids out of state. Now, as a parent, can you imagine, your child needing some kind of special something, and you don't even get to send them to a different town in your state to get them the help that they need. You have to send them to another state. What a difficult decision. And yeah,
We're very, very fortunate.
very fortunate.
Last question real quick. The grant that you were awarded, the 611 grant, is that similar in dollar value
Yes.
to what
Yes.
you got last year?
Yeah, it is. It usually is. Our numbers haven't fluctuated a whole lot. We're usually within, I would say, 5 to 10. And so our funding was very.
So is that a federal grant or state?
Federal. Federal. It's monitored by the state, and so they're the ones that give the approval to me, and that's why I write it through. But it is federal.
What are we competing in the Special Olympics? I see, looks like bowling is one, but I couldn't tell the other.
Yes, it was bowling. In the morning, it was bowling that's assisted, and then in the afternoon, or might have been the other way, unassisted and then assisted. But we do have 2 students that are headed to state.
Making it to state.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Val. Appreciate that.
All right, business report, Connie, you're up.
It is gonna count, so let's make sure I'm on my toes and make it quick. Couple of things on the warrant list, changed the warrant list, and we broke out payroll by general fund, food service, and special ed, just, so that's a change on that. I created a new report, maybe so that you have a more current version of what we're doing. In my report, it's at the end of the month, so these numbers you're looking at the end of September. I want you guys to kind of see what I see on a daily basis or monthly basis. So I'm going to send you a link in a couple of days after I kind of get some more information from the state and from the county, and what payroll is on the 15th. So you'll kind of see what October is. So what you're looking at is the WDE 160. So the 160 is a report of the county revenue. So we get this report once a month. So that's what the top of this report is, the blue and the gray. So if you look down where it says July of 23, on that second column, the first column of numbers, that number, the total for all, is how much money the county revenue was for June that we got in July, $883,000. The next row is what part of that 883 was revenue. So they cut us 2 checks. They cut us the check for the school, and then they cut us the check for rec board. So the rec board that month was $26,000, right? Or 26,000. And then so our portion of the 883 was $856,000. So anything in pink, if you guys want to go to the second page, it's a little bit bigger. So it's kind of easier to follow. So anything in pink is going to be FY24, okay? And so, so we received $856,000 in July for June taxes. So it's always a 1 month in arrears. Okay. So if you look at that number, the 825% at 8.25% is how much we got more than we got last year this time. So if you go down to the green percentage, the 132% is the difference in what we got from FY22 to FY23. So it went from 132% to 8.25%. So, and then we did the same thing in August, September, and October. So you can kind of see the difference. So this month we received $1 million in county revenue. And last year we got 1.7.
So we've lost about 38% difference between what we got this year and what we got last year. So that is kind of the challenge that we're facing, is that it's not the same. It's not even close to the same. And how is it projected? Because if you look at the green percentages across the board, you go from 325, 429, and I think there was one that was 2% in June. We got 2% difference between FY22 and FY23. So this is just a way for you guys to kind of see where we are each month and how it compared to the following year and the year before that. So that's kind of the county revenue across the top there. And then in the next portion of the pink is really the money we get from the state. So we get foundation money from the state 10 months of the 12 months of the fiscal year. So it starts in August, we get 1.5 times, then we get one time, all the way to May, and then we get half. Just the way they break that up. Okay? And then we get retirement, and retirement's usually paid in August, so we try to get that. That's due by August 12th. So we try to get in that index for the whole year of salaries. We get 2.2% paid that's outside the model. So we report that once a year. So that's the $291,000. And again, this year, remember, spade's been taken out. And so now we have a sped payment. So the first payment was $457,000, and that's usually based on last year's money. So I think it was a little over $3 million that we got last year. This year I submitted $3.9 million. So that's why it went up a little bit to the $459,000. We're in the middle of validating all these reports I submitted in August. So they look at our 601, which is all the expenses and revenue. They look at the 100, which is the ADM, our transportation reimbursement. That report gives us the guarantee amount that we get. And then they look at the 401, which is the sped report, so they make sure all of those match. And so we'll go through that validation process 2 or 3 more times. We fix things that might not match. I may have something on this report that I don't have on this report. We just make sure it matches. And so these numbers fluctuate a little bit, not a whole lot, but they may fluctuate. And then maybe in December we'll start hitting that same amount of money each month from SPAD reimbursement and the foundation. This month, on the 15th, we get a SPAD payment and we'll get a tax shortfall. Remember, so we predict how much money we're going to get from the county. Predict too much, then they pay us back in October. If we talk about the recapture versus entitlement piece, but right now, this year, we're in entitlement. Not by a lot, by about $115,000. And as you can see, on the percentage line, we went from 8.2% more to now this month we were 34% less than what we got. So I'm going to resubmit the 100, and so that we'll get more foundation money, because I'm going to predict that we'll get about 12 million instead of 16. We'll monitor that each time, but you guys can monitor it with me. So this link, you can press on this link every time that you want to kind of look it up. And so the 15th is payroll. I'll put the payroll in there, and then you'll be able to see what that looks like. Once we get the state payment, I'll put that in there, and you'll be able to see that. It's kind of a running total as we go through the process. Just so this is just one more 30,000 feet that you can kind of look at.
Questions? General fund payroll, 300% up.
300% up front. So July and August, you only are paying administrators and 260 classified employees. Your September payment is always that first check for volume.
Okay, so the way you have a plan next year is that will be more of an even keel. Is what I
kind of, sort of, yes.
Because you're going to start paying staff monthly. Okay, so then that's going to answer the next question about expenditures. We're up there again, 300% on expenditures, and that's because of the salary. Correct?
No, the expenses have no salaries in it. It's separate. So I've separated salaries from expenses. So but always August, September payments. If people are coming back to school, we're starting to spend that. We're starting to order books. If we don't have any books, we're starting to put blanket POs for
But you're up 1.2 million.
all my expenses.
Correct.
Correct.
So there's that 1.2 million, there's that much. Sure. So in August, we have 653,000, and now we have 1.8 million.
Oh,
So
yes,
that's 1.2 million roughly.
Those are increases in your annual pay. Sorry.
Okay, that's just what, yeah.
Yes, pay. It's not that much in expenses. So the expenses.
Okay, so we're going to go back to what you said then.
Correct. Sorry,
okay.
Because I was separating. I didn't realize you were talking here. So when you look at general fund expenses, those are operation expenses across the board. Your payroll is always going to be the same.
Well, right, and you have, yes. You're
So
absolutely
payroll
correct,
is always going to be higher. Well, not going forward, but this year is higher because September is the first big pay.
Okay, that answered that.
Yeah. So that last over under needed general fund revenue by month. So it's not a revenue total. It's just this is how much revenue we got. This is the expenses. So in September, we spent $789,000 more than what we received in revenue. But we received a little bit in August. We had a little bit of revenue. I'm sorry, reserves, and so we're kind of spending as we go. But just wanted to kind of see the difference between each revenue month and what we get expended each month. So we're borrowing from each month to go. Just so you can kind of see exactly what that's flying through.
So Connie, the ad valorem tax,
Mm-hmm.
do you get that on a monthly basis from Carla, or?
Yes, I get that plus the property tax, which is.
Because I didn't know if ad valorem was paid.
It just depends on how it comes in. So, there's the minerals are supposed to be paid on a monthly basis. If you've got Representative Crago told us in our meeting that one of the big companies that about 10% of the mineral income tax or not taxes that comes in is starting to get a little iffy about not paying. So, you could make a. But also, remember that Senate File 60 changed the way that the funding of how oil companies and minerals are paid each month. So we had this huge influx of money coming in last year, and it doesn't look like it's coming in this year. So did they pay it all? They had 15 years to kind of catch up. A lot of them chose to pay everything, so we just have to watch.
So the law did change on that valorem tax. It's supposed to be paid monthly. Our two biggest operators are doing very well.
Correct. But Crago said some of them are trying to kind of bulk it pay more. So we'll see how that all plays out. So anyway, so this is just kind of, you'll have a link to click on it anytime and get the information if you want. Just like so you can kind of see it 30,000 feet and kind of have it current instead of what my monthly reports are is really the end of the month. So all the checks that are approving tonight are actually October expenditures, so you won't see that on my board reports until November. So this is just another way to kind of communicate the information. And I could hear Gib counting back there. Did y'all hear him?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about this report or anything else?
I do have one question. Connie, on your meeting with Senator Kinsey and President Grego. So, Senator Kinsey asked us to put together a document to use to help him understand better and help get support. This is the document, or what document? What document is he wanting to? What is he wanting support?
So one of the other business managers from Laramie One used to be the finance director at the P. And so he moved to Laramie One, he moved to the good guys, right? And so he has a lot of knowledge about how the statutes are written, what the legislators need to know, what's going to be the advantage of changing it, maybe what some of the disadvantages of changing it, just trying to look at the consequences. And he had a document already prepared, kind of talking about exactly what we want to talk to him about. So currently, we have to certify the 100 March 31st. We still have 3 months of taxes to go. We're trying to predict what that is. And so we're asking maybe to certify it in June. We also talk about in your entitlement district, you kind of have to pay back anything over your guarantee amount at a different time frame than if you are in the manufacturing district. So we asked them to look at that. Currently, we're at 30% of carryover. We're asking this to make it permanent. That sunsets in June of 26. So we want to talk to them about making that a permanent resource and keep that statute in place. Some other things that we talked about. We talked about
I'm just being proactive. We're going to be on the bubble. So part of what I discussed is we had 2 virtual meetings with 2 different sets of business managers, and Jed came out of that piece. But we've got to change legislation on how we're funded. It's again, we have to pay in June, but they don't have to pay us back till October. When can we certify the 100? I think the system needs to be cleaned up. I think there's some systems in place because people got mad because there are some districts that have $150 million they're gaining interest on, but we're not that district. We're always on the bubble. We're going to have a revenue flow issue, so we're talking about cleaning up the system. And Kinski asked, "What does this look like?" Well, this business manager we're talking about had already created a document, and so we met with him. What day was it? Friday. Anyway, the week goes fast. So anyway, we're trying to clear up some of that information. Kinski asked for it, so if there's a potential that we could change some the way things run over the next couple of years to benefit districts our size, I think that's huge because you can already see our cash flow is going to be difficult when that revenue is so inconsistent. And I've directed Connie to resubmit the 100. We learned a lot of things through that, so we can either be a victim or we can be proactive. And the result is I want to be proactive. And there's ways to, honestly, even Kinski told us, play the game with the 100. So we're going to play the game with the 100, but I don't feel good with that. If there's things we can change, let's start changing legislative laws on how we fund things so we're kind of being proactive instead of reactive. I don't like the way we were held over the barrel this summer, to be honest with you, and that's public. I can make that public knowledge. I don't like the way we were held accountable for some different things when that accountability isn't consistent on both sides. So we just need to look at it. So we are being very proactive now that peer review is over and we've all taken a breath and we can kind of clear our minds. That will be one of the next projects that we need to get on the forefront because this paper here clearly shows you that we cannot predict our local monthly revenues, which is impactful to us. So understanding that process and giving grace to Connie that even Kinski and everybody else, an economist probably wouldn't be able to exactly determine what you're going to get. So those are going to change. So we need to be able to do something that's not going to impact our district, but hopefully impact other districts our size throughout the state. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Representative Prego really began, he used a word that Senator Kinski just jumped on. Senate Bill 60 kind of changed the landscape of how revenues come in, how it's affecting us, and then again the SPED being pulled out of the law had a huge effect as well. And Prego said we just need to learn to adapt. We need to make sure that our laws are adapting to that change in the Senate Bill 60. And Kinski just loved the word adapted. He said I can get on board with that. So you're both willing and very, very eager to help us walk through some of those things. And we've got a bunch of business managers that want to kind of jump on board and kind of look at that and a united team.
Yeah, and so I want to be very clear. I'm not making any promises that we can get things changed, but we're at least trying to put something together. Because the window we're talking about, the stress level goes up. The window to get all this moving doesn't happen on the first day of legislation. It starts right now. So we've got a short window. This isn't a united front. It's kind of Johnson County School District in collaboration with a couple others, trying to get some things with some legislators. So hopefully we can focus on that a little bit and change the way things are. So our monthly stress is not how much we're getting in and based on our expenditures. So, again, Prego and Kinski both agreed at next month's board meeting, and I forgot to put it on here. Prior to this board meeting at 5:15, they will come in and try to answer any questions. Potentially administrators, they might come a couple hours early and retour buildings that day. I'm not sure, but I haven't locked that into place on what that looks like. Okay. So Jake, it might be, I don't know if we'll get there first for lunch and then come back this way, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
So what are we calling that on the 15th? Is that just going to be a dinner we're having, or?
Just be an additional work session with legislators.
Okay.
Connie, do you want to answer some questions on warrants now, or do you want to wait till?
It's up to you.
Okay. Well, so there's a couple of them that jumped out at me, so I need to ask them.
Okay.
So I noticed on page 18 we have a contract for a language pathologist. What does that mean, and what does it entail?
It's a speech pathologist.
Yes.
And it's a
So
special
let's
education.
let Val answer that.
So we had, that is a contract with a speech pathologist.
It is or isn't?
It is. Yep. We had someone resign last year, and so in order to make sure that we provided the services this school year, that was our only option at that point. The position had been open for 2 months. We didn't have a single applicant, so then I went to search outside. Gosh, when I first contacted them, we had 15 to choose from, and within a week and a half, we were down to 4 that weren't even available, even online. And so we had to make a decision very quickly.
So is that an online?
Mm-hmm. Yep. She meets
Does-
with.
How do I ask this? Is that helpful for the kids? I mean, that
It
have
is.
those
It
problems
is.
to do online, because most kids don't learn online the same as they do face to face.
In the perfect world, we prefer someone in person always. That's the ultimate goal. Sometimes that's not an option. And so it has been, the court system has deemed that it is an acceptable form of providing services. And so it is becoming very, very common in the state of Wyoming, just because we have such limited resources.
So Val, is that amount, is that gonna be monthly? It's about 33,000. Is that gonna be per month then, or what?
Probably through the school year.
What's that?
We've kept it open, yes, through the school year. That's approximately how much it costs. They're usually, when they're online, even any of our contractors, if you look through the fee, average rate would be $100.
Sounds like over twice what we were paying.
But I have to provide the service, and we didn't have anyone apply.
We have a care of your.
Yes.
I know they're trying to say
So next question, Connie, on page 27, and we just have a lady here, Compass Parent Liaison, 57,000. Is that?
I think it's, part of that is the yearly rate. So that's the whole year. For the
Their salary?
I don't know exactly.
So
what
it's
they use.
their
I'm
salary
sure
and
they're
the
using-
program and all the training that goes along with it. So we just paid one lump sum, so we pay monthly. So that's their employee, that's their program, that's the cost.
That was an answer.
But that is down from last year, because last year was higher than that because we had the implementation phase, that it cost more last year, so this is the annual cost.
So when they talk about the grants and that kind of stuff, so we put out well over 100,000. So the grant, it is the grants that they're asking for. Will we see that kind of a payment next year from the general fund? And where they get the grants, like the Scott Foundation?
They have 3 other grants, so the goal is to have 1/3 of the cost of parent liaison come from the district and the general budget, or seek additional grants for us as a district, and 2/3 of it to come from some other type of community or other thing.
Thanks for answering those.
What percentage are we at now? 57? We're 100 now.
We're
wanting to
fully
reduce
sponsoring it.
Through ESSER.
Okay, fine.
But, I mean, I just want to come back. That's what I came to you as a board with, that we'd fund this with ESSER grants over the first 2 to 3 years, and then start seeking community funding, because it is a collaborative effort. It is between what's shared and others, so trying to get those other organizations to do it. And, I mean, if we have to seek additional funding, but the evidence is there. I mean, we talk about the social emotional piece and that money spent with those at-risk families. I think it's going to benefit us as a district.
And remember, we have to spend about $600,000 to $700,000 on running costs, and that does qualify for running costs. That counts for the running costs.
So I can put a comment to make, Charles. Does that ESSER fund money get put into the general fund, and then it comes out of the general fund? Is that okay? Because that came out of the general fund, so that's why I'm asking. Because we'll move on.
Any other questions? Well, we'll wait for you.
It's special revenue, isn't it?
What special revenue?
Yeah. Yeah, on 27, it's called special revenue. Yeah. I will believe you because I don't know any better.
Ask your wife.
Any other questions for Connie?
Thanks for that report.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hopefully, and if we can adapt it, we can do whatever we need to do. But hopefully, this will give you that 30,000. Look.
Right.
Thank you, Connie. Rec board.
We meet tomorrow. If you look at the warrant, we'll start giving out grants already. See what tomorrow brings. Probably not a lot. It's kind of fun.
So when I looked at what went out, back to Randy Brown's comments earlier, out of the 150,000, didn't it?
There was a lot that did, but there's other ones.
Yeah, there were a few, but
Yeah.
Well,
There was, yeah. Which Randy, I did bring this. These are all the grants.
because she knew you were going to be here.
Just for you. I've been carrying it around for a while. Just for you. See, although I did have one question because I cannot remember this. Bison Clay Target Schools. Is that a school? Or are they tied to this school?
It's
a club.
It's a club, so it's not.
But it is tied to the school because we approved it.
Yes, you did. That's correct. It's a club at school. I'd like to create the club.
Okay.
Does it have a teacher?
Does not have a faculty sponsor. It has a volunteer.
Yeah, it didn't. So then I saw there was some kind of a shooting thing where it throws clay pigeons that the school purchased. Not to do it.
I don't think, if you said
It wasn't under youth.
Okay, because there is a shooting thing, and that's a basketball shooting thing that went.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that a shooting machine?
So that's
Our
for
high school has
KC.
one as
So it's not something you should.
No. But that's in KC, and
But hey,
Buffalo
they
has
have
one as
shooting
well.
deals. Yeah, it wasn't KC.
Yeah, not Clay.
Any other questions for the rec board? BOCES, I was not able to attend the meeting due to our special board. I will attend one next Thursday. Dave?
BOCES is not met. I have nothing to report. But I kind of wish that Charles, have you heard anything? Because with the split going on, gosh, we kind of.
So Connie and I had a conversation about this last week, that we need to contact them and we need to figure out what's happening. So,
yeah.
So.
I think we've already covered leadership governance. I think we did really a nice job last week. I think we're going to just keep that into our work sessions, if that's all right with everybody. I thought the dialogue that we had with that was very good. I hope we cleared up how people can access now on their computer, so we can look at the surveys apologize for the ownership of it. I thought we had a really good conversation.
Thanks for pulling that, your IT skills.
Here we go.
Got them back alive.
And if they're not, and again, those go out, I forget what day, we want them back on the Monday, that Monday, is that what it is? The Monday before the work session on Wednesday, so I can compile all the information. So. Vanette, did you want to add anything there?
No, I was just gonna say the conversation that we had around it on the work session was amazing.
I think it works better than having it put up on the board in dead silence. So I was pleased with that conversation.
I will say kudos to you as a board for having that, nice and productive conversation.
So we did report it. And I always want to say this, our work sessions are open, our public meetings, and everyone is welcome to come. That moves us into a consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second, please.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, signified by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. The agenda has been approved. I've been a member of this board for several years, and I have never had action items. So we will next time our board policy meeting. We're meeting on Wednesday, correct? So I know we will have some policies to bring to you the next week. So we move on to other business. Do you have any updates, Mr. Oski, for the peer review? Are there any?
I mean, just questions. I think I answered that to the superintendent, but we wanted to make sure here was for the public and that our peer review went very well. But I do want to emphasize it is just preliminary, and we should have the final hopefully sometime soon. Work session probably will be based around looking at that process of moving forward with strategic planning, APQC, what we're doing with our ops team. And in addition to that, I reached out to the School Board Association to also start looking at an actual, they offer a service now to look at all board policies. We had that discussion at a work session last week to really identify what policies we're missing, maybe prioritize those, same thing with facilities. So that'll be some things that we'll bring to the table. So we had that conversation, we don't know what we don't know. Well, in some cases, if we can get ahead of the game and know what we should know, that might be beneficial to that process. Fair?
Very fair. Anything else for that, for Ms. Roski? I'd also like to say, first of all, I would like to apologize to the board for not thanking the board for being nominated for the Champion of Education. And I want to say that there's not one person on this board that should not receive that award, because otherwise you wouldn't be on this board. Because of all the hours, people don't see the hours and the time that we not only spend in this board, but you spend at home and in this community. So I'll only accept the nomination if it includes not just includes, but I can represent this board, because again, you are the champion of education. And I appreciate your time and your effort, knowledge, and what you have taught me how to be a board member. So thank you again, and again, this nomination will represent all nine. So the next thing is the school liaison. We've had that in the past. It is, Mr. Oski, I'll let you this was your brainchild, so.
Oh, thanks. I think it's time to revisit that. I can. Again, we're taking breaths about what that looks like. But I'll reopen that document. I mean, if you, it would probably be best to kind of look at potentially reassigning if there is some reassignments, but I will reshare that link with you so you know what buildings you were assigned to or where you are at, and just take a look at those. So I would be open to suggestions if you'd like a different assignment, but I think it is really important to have a board member representing universities.
And I know, so many of you have lives, jobs, families, and you're not able to get involved in much of that, but that's okay. That's okay. And I enjoy it. I have the time to do it. I enjoy being in middle school. I got to serve lunch. I got, because I have the time. I I enjoy it. So, but if you're not able to, don't worry about it. It's okay.
It's not a stressor, it's
No,
just communication.
absolutely not. So, but I think it's something that if you're able to, great. If you're not, that's great too. Lynette, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. I wanted to add, I believe it's October 27th, right? Friday, October 27th. Just want to remind everyone that Jan is being recognized through the Compass as a champion for kids. And it's a breakfast, 7 a.m. at Colonel Bozeman's. I believe the board and anybody else with us has a table. We have a table, so.
In front.
Craig, we have a table.
Admin has a team.
I just wanted to be sure and remind you guys, it's at 7 a.m. It's a Friday. Great way to start your weekend. Remind you to come out and join. Eat breakfast. Yeah.
I haven't worked on it. Let's move on. Thank you. I'd like just one other little board information. Our weekly meeting, what day is that? The WSBA.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thursday this year.
Thursday. Yes, Thursday at noon. We meet for 1 hour, and they are Zoom meetings from the WSBA. If you have the time, and I think they're recorded too, so you can watch them later on. They're really good to watch because it's not just somebody up there talking to you. You get to hear from other board members. We have breakout sessions that only last like 8 minutes. And you can hear from other people who are having the same problems that we're having and maybe solutions and ideas and last 1 hour. They start right at 12 and they end at 1. And I know again that's some of you work during that time, but I believe they are recorded. Let me double check on that. And it's an hour we're spending here.
I'm sure I did have one more thing. I wanted to send out a thank you. I wanted to pass it on to Dr. Hansen to send out a thank you to the kids that provided all the great snacks and the hors d'oeuvres for during the period. Awesome. They were amazing. Really got to showcase what our kids are doing. And Charles, I wanted to pass on to you, please, to your staff in the office for making the day run so smooth. They provided, they offered anything that anybody needed. They had lunch every day, the days that of the peer review, and so just thank them, of course, because it was all of those things behind the scenes made the peer review day just run so smooth. So pass those things on.
And absolutely, and another kudos we talked about. We're probably the first peer review that we actually introduced our operations to. So I think in that piece, nobody lost any weight over those 2 days with the amount of calories that they presented. So this is.
Anything else from the board?
I would like to encourage, and I know we don't want to talk about this, but November is a huge month, and the School Boards Association is coming up, and we need to let Heidi know who wants to attend so we can be there to represent Jan, and we'll figure out what that is coming up.
We also, that Friday is awesome because they go through, is it Friday? Yeah, Friday morning. And they do all the law on Friday and all the cases that have been brought up. And those 4 hours are really interesting for one thing, and you learn so much. It starts at 8 ends at noon.
It is. So it's a busy week. So we're going to come off a work session, a board meeting, and then we got the Boys and Girls Club breakfast early that morning. And then I jump in a car and we go to Casper, and we stay in Casper Wednesday through Friday, and through that process. And Jan, I know you don't want to talk about it, but when we recognize Jan, if you're just able to make it for that section of that recognition, but I will put that schedule up too. Okay?
Thank you. The November work session will be the 8th, beginning at 5:15. Our regular board meeting will be on the 13th, beginning at 6 o'clock, and there may be some issues come up throughout the month. We will let you know. Do we have anything else for the good of the cause? We have no executive session. So, anything else? We are now adjourned. Thank you all again for coming. Thank you.
Right.